Alright guys, so what we're going to do is I'm going to use this program to show you how to do the mapping or the laying out of the portrait. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to divide your paper into 5 sections. Okay, so let me there you go. Okay, so you divided your paper into 5 sections, and the reason we're doing 5 sections is because we're using the width of the eye as a unit of measurement, and the head is 5 eye widths wide. So you can see where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. We also left space on the outside for our ears because our ears are on the outside of our head. Okay, so that's going to be very important going forward. Now the next thing you need to do is you need to find the middle of the page, because our eyes are actually in the middle of our head. And I'll give you a second while you look in the mirror, since most of the time people don't believe when I say that, but your eyes are in fact in the middle of your head. So we'll divide that paper into half. Okay, so you see our line going across, that's for half. And then our eyes will go in sections 2 and 4. Now I've created this a little bit earlier, so I try to speed the process up. So there are my eyes. They're in sections 2 and 4. Now the rest I'm going to go ahead and just draw on here. So again, bear with me. It is a computer program. I am using a mouse. Okay, so like I said, the unit of measurement is the width of our eyes. So we will go from our eyes down. We're going to go 1.5 eye widths, and that's where we're going to find our nose. Okay, so I'm not going to draw in a nose right now. What I'm doing is just marking where it's going to be. Okay, so again, that's 1.5 eye widths down from the eyes. Okay, now the next thing we find is our top lip, and that's going to be 1/2 an eye width from our nose, so roughly in here. Now what you ought to be doing now is you shouldn't be using a ruler or anything like that. You should just be using your fingers. Okay, and these are just putting things roughly in place. And then obviously as you get things mapped out, then you start, paying attention to the person that you're drawing and start making those adjustments on where the nose should be and those kind of things, because it's probably going to be a little bit different each person. Okay, now that we found the top lip, the bottom lip is going to be another half down from the top lip. And we'll use 1/2 an eye width quite a bit. In fact, the next one is going to be from the top of the eye is 1/2 an eye width up. That's a relaxed face, and that's where we'll find our eyebrows. And yes, you do need to do these in order. Okay, there's an order to things, and so if you get the nose in the wrong place right off the bat, like drastically in the wrong place, then the mouth's going to be off. Okay, and then as you'll see, the ears and the chin, the top of the head, all that'll be off because they spin off of each other. Okay, so next thing, let's go ahead and find the ears. Okay, and they're going to be outside those sections. Okay, so the top of your ear goes straight across with the even with your eyebrows. Okay, the bottom of your ears, if you go straight across, they're even with your nose, or very close to it. Now the only time that'll change is if a person looks up or looks down, then they don't line up the same way. Okay, so let's just draw in a rough little ear just to get that kind of in place. Okay, there we go. Alright, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to find the chin. Okay, now even though that I said the eyes are in the middle of your head, okay, your nose is actually in the middle of your face. Okay, so knowing the nose is in the middle, the top of our face is actually our eyebrows. That's where our face stops. Okay, so we're going to measure from our eyebrows to the nose, and that is the same as the nose to the chin. There you go. So you just mark where the chin's going to be. Now that I've found that, then I'm going to find the top of my head. Okay, so I'm going to go from my chin, because the chin's in the bottom of my face, but it's also the bottom of my head. And I said earlier that the eyes were in the middle of my head. So I go from the chin to the eyes, and that's the same as the eyes to the top of the head. So I mark that. And that looks like it's way up there, but again, we haven't put hair in, and we'll get to that in a second. Alright, so what I'm going to do next, I'm going to find the width of the nose. Okay, so you'll notice that I did not draw in a complete nose, it's because I didn't know the width of it. Now if you look in the mirror and you go straight up from the outside edges of your nose, typically they line up with the inside of the eye. I like to extend out slightly. I think that's more of a realistic look. I don't want everything too boxy. Okay, so there's the width of my nose. You'll notice I didn't draw any lines connecting the eyes to the nose because those are actually taken care of with shading and shadows, not lines. Alright, so the next thing, I'm going to find how wide the mouth is. So same thing, look in the mirror, and if you go straight up from the corners of your mouth, you'll notice that it pretty much lines up with the middle of the eye. So we'll mark that on both sides. That gives us a stopping point for each side. Okay, so now roughly draw in a mouth. It doesn't have to be anything detailed right now or even that accurate. Okay, I'm going to be finishing this off later when I'm more worried about those kind of things. Alright, so there's my really rough mouth. Alright, so now, knowing what I know about the mouth, and I know that somehow I have to get food in my face, and that's how my jaw is designed. Okay, so we're going to do the jawline next. Now, the sharp corners of your jaw, the most pronounced part of your jaw, lines up with the opening of your mouth. Typically that happens in the section 1 and section 5, kind of out in here. So I just kind of put roughly in there in those both sides. Now the rest of the jawline just takes a lot of practice because you're trying to make both sides kind of match. Okay, and as you can see, that's not the easiest thing in the world to do. You'll also notice I did not go up and connect with the ear. Okay, if I do that, it instantly looks way too fat. Okay, and then I have like a fish face going. So I just extend this up and then I bring that earlobe in. And that usually takes care of that. And again, it's all about adjustments. I'll probably even have to change the ear shape a little bit. Alright, moving on. Now we need to figure out the hair. Okay, so typically what I do for the hair is I try to find the outline, or I draw the outline first. Okay, knowing how hair grows, the top of the head's easy. It's going to grow out. Okay, so I'm just going to put in a rough little outline extending above the head. Now to find the bangs, I usually go from the eyebrows and I measure how many eye widths up. If I'm looking in the mirror, how many eye widths up are my bangs and where do they start? Okay, so I'm just going to rough these in. Again, this isn't anybody particular, I'm just drawing it in. Alright, so there I have my hair, and again, it's not finished, it's not detailed, I'm just getting everything in place. Alright, and then the last thing I need to do as far as mapping is I need a neck. Okay, so if you look in a mirror and you look at your neck, if you go straight up from the outside edges of your neck, it typically will line up with the outside corner of your eyes. Now you don't want to go straight down, you want to kind of curve out as you come down. Make it more of a normal looking neck. Okay, and there you go. So this is all you need to know for your final exam, how to map it out properly, so you need to make sure that you know the measurements. What I would do is watch this video again and I would take notes and write those notes down because you can use those notes on your final exam. If you have any questions, make sure that you ask me in class. Don't wait until the day of the final. Okay, make sure you know this beforehand.